Okay, cool. So I've been thinking about some of the sessions we've done, and also I kind of read some of the feedback and so forth. And so one of the things that I think would be really interesting is to kind of split the session into two. One would be to build something from scratch, but then the other would be to kind of dissect an automation that has been fully built that we wouldn't have time to really build, and then just kind of really analyze it so you can see also the potential. So I thought that would be really cool to do that. So what we're going to cover today is a feature that I am really not that familiar with. So I thought this would be perfect because I want to stumble, you know, and I want to kind of screw up and try to figure it out. And that feature is really, really cool. It's the human approval automation. And so what this basically means is that you can actually interrupt the execution of an automation waiting for a live human to make a decision. And so it's really cool. Great possibilities for all types of applications. So let's do that. Let me share my screen and let's get started here. So let's talk about, let me share my screen and then let's talk about some potential for this here. So let's just say demo. Let's do this here. Okay, so let's talk about some potential for this. So the feature that we're going to be using is called get moderation link and then await human moderation. Okay, and it's really comprised of, and I'm going to show you an example of one, but basically it's comprised of potentially 3 different actions. One is where you can kind of configure the UI for what the human is going to see. So we'll do that last because you don't have to do that part. The other one is get a moderation request link, something that you can send to a human. And you can send this through an email, or you can send it through SMS. You can post it somewhere. You can do whatever you want with that link that is going to be sent to someone for a human to make a decision, right? And then there is an action called await human moderation. And what that is, it basically puts the execution of the automation on pause until the human makes a decision. Okay. So before we incorporate the human aspect, let me just build something kind of straightforward here. So I'm going to, let's take a look at what we have. And again, this is like completely, you know, improvising here, which is, again, I think I've said that a few times now. It's my favorite way of going about this. So what do we have connected? So we have Donor Perfect. Let's connect HubSpot because I really want to show an example with HubSpot. I think that would be really good. So let me connect HubSpot here. All right, and what we're gonna do, so we're gonna say HubSpot Mindbody testing, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a feature in HubSpot where you can actually merge contacts. Okay, and there's gonna be a reason why you'd want to merge a contact. So let me just connect HubSpot here. So HubSpot, for those of you who don't know, it's a fantastic CRM and automated marketing, inbound marketing platform doing incredibly well. We use it, we love it, and we're partners with them as well. So I just connected HubSpot here, and we're going to pair HubSpot with, let's just say, with Mindbody. It's fine. Okay. And the reason I want to do this is because Mindbody could have more than one contacts with the same email, but HubSpot doesn't. Okay. So let me just open HubSpot here. So this is HubSpot. This is all test data, so some of it's going to look weird. It's fine. And let's connect Mindbody. So let me just connect on the other screen, and I'll bring it over. 422. Okay. Bring this back. And here is Mindbody. There you go. All right, so what's the use case here? So the use case is, you've got folks in Mindbody, let's say with test@test.com. Okay. And you may have more than one with the same email. Okay. So this, let's just pull one up, test@test.com here. All right, so this has one email, test@test.com, but you could potentially have a second test@test.com who could be, a family member. So just to really clear this up, I'm going to rename this to a family member. So I'm going to call him Fred, and then my last name. Okay. So here's Fred Lumiere, and Fred has a, or let me make sure that all the other automations that are connected to this are not running, because I don't want to hijack. Okay, they're not. Okay, and so Fred has a daughter, right? And I do. And her name is Jane. And I don't want her to have her own email because she's too young, at least for this particular Mindbody appointment or subscription. So we're going to use the same email for her email. Okay, so here it gives you a warning, and it says, "Hey, Fred, you're creating a second client here that has the same email." Sorry, my printer is really, really loud right now. Hold on. What are they printing? Okay, well, it's gonna end soon. Okay, so I'm creating a second person here. Second person has the same email, but it is a separate record in Mindbody. But in HubSpot, as we've explained before, you really can have only one client or one contact with the same email. So in this particular case, what we'd want to do is we want to make sure that Fred has one and then Jane has one, even though they have the same email. Okay. But how do we know, right? You could have a legitimate duplicate in Mindbody that needs to be merged, or you could have a legitimate two separate humans who need to have their own unique contact in HubSpot. So, so first let's build it without the human interaction. So let me do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say here, Mindbody, and I'm not gonna use the new, I'm just gonna use the updated for now because I don't want to complicate things. So updated client in Mindbody instance, that's a webhook. So as soon as something is updated in Mindbody, here we would want to go to HubSpot and first find out, right? So here I'm gonna say find contact by email to see if this person exists in HubSpot. Okay, so I'm going to map the email from the trigger. All right, and I'm going to say continue if non-critical error, right? So if you don't find one, then don't proceed. All right, so here it's going to do the search, and then right below that search, I'm going to do a conditional branch. I'm going to say if here what's coming out of there, if I'm getting data for the ID, for instance, right? So the VID right here. If it's not empty, then I'm going to update the record. So here I'm going to choose HubSpot. I'm going to use update contact. And for the ID, right here, I'm going to use the ID that I found when I searched it. Okay. So the same ID here. And then I can populate whatever I want. So I'm just going to say, first name. And we're just going to put a couple pieces of data. Obviously, you can map whatever you want, but here's a first name. I want to say last name. Last name right here. And you can see that I'm either using the mappable fields here, or I'm using email, the diagram here. Okay. So for update, I really don't need to update the email actually, because I'm not going to change it because that's how I found it in the first place. So it's the same. So I don't need to do the email. But let's say I want to do the phone number. So let's say phone. And phone number is going to be the mobile from Mindbody. So mobile phone. Okay, so what have I done so far? I said, hey, when I get an updated client from Mindbody, webhook instant, I look for that client by email as a contact in HubSpot. And if I find it, so found contact by email, right? So if I find it, and the way I know I found it is because in here, I got an ID that is not empty returned from this action that emitted that, right? So I just came here and I just said, whatever comes out of here, I'm looking for the ID, okay? So if I get an ID, then I know I found it. And if I found it, I feel confident that I can update that contact, okay? If I didn't find it, it'll go to the left. If I didn't find it, I can add HubSpot here. I'm going to create a contact. So create, add or update contact. Yeah, you can use this one because here we didn't find the email. So this will naturally add the person by email. So actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the fields here, paste them here to save some time. And here you'll see that we have the first name, the last name, the phone number, and then the email. I'm going to map that myself, and you can see it's required. And by the way, if you ever wonder what these things are for, you can actually come, there's a lot of fields here, right? You can see what is required. You can just check that, and it will show you only what's required in order to perform this action. So here, I'm going to map the email. All right, so far so good, pretty easy, no problem. So I'm going to execute this, and I'm going to show you where now we need to make some further decisions, right? So very simple automation here. When updated Mindbody client, then add or update contact in HubSpot. Let's test it. We'll put this in demo. We'll open demo and then we'll monitor it live. I'm gonna actually share my screen and split it in two now. All right, so now we can really monitor things well. And on the left, oops, on this one, I want Mindbody on the left. All right, so I've got Mindbody on the left, I've got HubSpot on the left, and I've got the APIANT automation on the right. So if I go to Fred here, and let's see, I add another note. Right away, as soon as I press save, you're gonna see that this is gonna trigger. See that it triggers automatically, boom. And you can see exactly what happened. It came here and it said, hey, I got a new, and you move your mouse on top of the historical. By the way, just to show you this again, you can actually come here, look at the execution here by either going to history, or you can look total task to this month, and you can see that one transaction was executed. You can click on it again, and now you can see exactly, it reconstructs the diagram and shows you where the data or how the data was processed. So it came from Mindbody. We had all this information, right? So this is a field name in the data. And then we search for that. We search for that contact in HubSpot, and we did find it. It was contact 7701, and therefore no problem. We just updated the first and last name, right? What did it say? Fred Stern. That was strange. Oh, I think I might have Stern. What? What it? Hold on a second. What did it say? Lumiere. First name. Oh, see, I went too fast. Why didn't you stop me, Mark? I made a rookie error and you didn't stop me. Did you watch me do it and just say, this is going to be fun?
Oh.
All right. So what a rookie error did I make here?
Hold on, I gotta make my screen bigger. I can't see it. Hold on.
Do you guys see my screen?
No, my screen is too small because of the way the view is. Okay. All right, find contact, update contact. Yeah. So the bottom, no. Yeah. No, that's right. Find contact by email, last name value, first name value. I guess I'm not seeing it.
Come on, Mark, don't be a rookie. I'm just teasing. All right, now the error that I made is that Mindbody is the trigger, right? So what is the goal here? I want to map fields from Mindbody into HubSpot, okay? Right. So here you can see when I double click on it, I indeed took the email from the trigger, which is fine, right? And then when I found the contact, I actually, you can see here, I mapped the contact ID from, and you can click that little I here, okay, and you can see where it comes from.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Right.
But then what?
It should be taken from the trigger, not from the.
It should be taking what? Why do I always support Mark on the?
I don't know.
It should be so relieved. I'm just like, thank.
So
you're like in school and you're like, oh, I'm never sitting in the front row.
It should be taken from the trigger action. So the last name is being taken from HubSpot right now, and it should be
boom
from Mindbody.
You got it. And so a really good rule of thumb is, if you forget or if you move too fast or if you're tired or whatever, is in general, if you have the same icon here than here, there's a pretty high potential that something's wrong, unless there's a need for it, right? Because we are updating a contact in HubSpot, right? We're going to want to map Mindbody fields, not HubSpot fields. Now, this is the exception here because the contact ID comes, and you can see it. If I click on there, it shows me the contact ID comes from the search. That makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is to take the email from here to put it in here. I'm sorry, the last name from here to put in here. You want a last name from here, right? And this is why we ended up with Fred Stern, because in HubSpot, his first and last name, he already existed, but his last name was Stern and not Lumiere for my particular test. Anyway, long story short, the way I would fix it is I would come here and I will fix the last name. Okay, now what do I have to do before I save it? And I know maybe you weren't paying attention before when I was building it the first time, but before I save this, what do you think I should be doing? Pen?
Let's see. So you updated, you're saving it. Oh, no. Don't need to rename anything here. No.
Pen is like, I know the answer, and it could be great if I say it and it's right, but if it's not, then I want to look like a fool.
Before you save it, what should you do?
Yeah. You remember what I did before when I built it the first time? I copied the fields from here and I pasted them here. So that whatever issue I have here, I'm probably going to have here as well.
Oh,
Right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So I need to fix it here as well. I know it's exactly what you were thinking.
Totally. Yeah.
And for our audience, I think we have to clarify and be fair. Pen never gets to build these. She's too busy managing our partner and biz dev. So it's almost not fair that I would ask her. But anyway, Mark, on the other hand, is very different. He supports them all the time. So okay, so all right. So and I'm going to say fixed last name. Okay. All right. Let me speed up a little bit because I really want to get to the human interaction part. So I'm going to make another note, right? I'm just going to say note, save. We're going to look at it. So now we're going to have Fred Stern in here, Fred Lumiere instead of Fred Stern. So here you can see that executed. Boom. And now we have the correct last name, Fred Lumiere, that comes from the trigger. And here, contacts, I'm going to say last modified. All right, so here's Fred Lumiere. Okay, so that worked. That's fine. Now, what happens if I update Jane, right? She's going to have the exact same email, right? So if I update Jane, she's going to have the exact same email. So when it comes down here, it's going to say, yeah, I'm finding a contact by email. It's Fred. Oh, good. I'll update. So now we're overriding Jane with Fred. So that's a problem, right? Because you don't want to do that. You want to keep them separate in this case. So how do you do that? So what do you do? So instead of find contact by email, I'm going to find the contact by something else that is unique to that client in Mindbody, okay? So how am I going to do this? Well, first of all, I'm going to make sure that I map that. So here, I think I have in HubSpot, well, we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to use client ID. So here I have a Mindbody client ID field. So let's go to HubSpot. And we can get a lot more sophisticated with that. And if you're interested in doing an integration with HubSpot where this situation can happen, reach out to us and we'll show you how we go about it. But I'm just going to try to keep it pretty basic here. So client ID, Mindbody client ID, we have a field here, and that field is Mindbody client ID. So I don't want to search by email. I want to search by a unique field that makes that record unique to Mindbody, okay? Because if it's just by email, I'm going to keep on overriding people, and I don't want to do that. So here, I'm going to replace this So watch this. This is pretty cool. I'm gonna create a new action, and I'm gonna say find contact by property. The property name, I'm gonna paste the internal name in there. Okay. Mindbody client ID, and the property value is going to be the client ID that comes from HubSpot. Okay, so from Mindbody, sorry. Client ID, and here I'm going to say continuing non-critical because you may not find one. Okay, now remember that what I'm doing here is I'm replacing the find contact by email. Okay, so everything that I was mapping here, I'm going to want to map it with this. So you could unmap everything and remap everything, or you can use this really cool feature called right-click, find items mapped to this. Okay, so this tells me that this action here, there are two matches. You can see that here, two matches that are mapped to this. And when I open the first one here, it highlights in yellow what mapping is, what is mapped to that action that it says, what is mapped to this. So here I can just replace, instead of using the find contact by email, right? I'm going to use the find property by email. So I'm going to replace here the ID with this one. And I'm going to delete the other one. So basically I'm stripping the mapping from this automation, from this action, and replacing them with here. So I have a couple more. So here I have, you can see that all of these right here, this one, just this one is actually linked to or mapped to that action that I want to replace. So same thing here, I'm going to replace the mapping and I'm going to use this one instead. So here I'm going to say ID. Right up here. And I'm going to remove the one in yellow. Okay. Right. And I know this one we haven't done it yet, I guess. Let me see. Yeah, so here is different because this one was not using it. Okay, so that's it. So now you have 0 items. So I can now remove the find contact by email. And now I'm using the find contact by property. Okay, and I'm going to rename this. I'm going to say find contact by, and I'm actually going to copy and paste the field name that I'm searching by. Okay, so that's good, but there's one piece missing, which is you can keep on searching by client ID, but unless you update the client ID, you're going to keep on not finding it, right? So it's important that when you do an update that you map the client ID. So here I'm going to do a refresh to make sure all the custom fields show up in the HubSpot action. And Mindbody client ID, I'm going to grab it from the trigger. Here's the client ID, and I actually can copy and paste and do a select all, copy, and I'm going to paste that in here as well. So if you're ever looking for a field that doesn't show up here, but you know it is in the other one, just do a refresh. That will pull all the latest custom fields that you might have added in between since the time that you last did it. Okay, so now this works. So I'm going to do this update one more time and see what happens. So here I'm going to say replaced find contact by email with find contact by ID. Alrighty then. So let's go back to Fred here. Okay. One more time, I'm going to do an update. You know what? Let's map the notes so we can see a change at least. I'll map the notes as well. Notes. Profile notes. Notes in the Mindbody profile. This is a custom field that I created, so I might as well use that. I just want to actually see a change. Otherwise, it's very not.
Hey, Fred.
Yeah.
question from me. Go back to that screen. How come you're not doing continue if non-critical error on this one? And like the last demo that I was in, you made sure that you hit the box
Right.
continue if non-critical error.
Right. Fantastic question. I was going to turn it on after I had an error. So basically the difference between this and this is it means that if you have any error, stop execution.
Right.
Continue if non-critical error means if you're not getting what you were hoping to get, then allow to proceed, but you'll have to create a conditional to test on that error. So I'm glad you asked the question because I will turn it on after I show the error so I can show you how you can bypass the error. So good thinking. That makes sense?
Yeah. Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, notes. Mark always makes fun of me because if I'm ever doing something and he asked me a question in between, I have some serious APIANT automation dementia. Like I completely forget what I was doing before. But okay, so added notes. All right, so save. Let's put a fourth note in here. Save. Here we're gonna see it come through. So the first time here came through, it could not find it, right? Because we did not have the client ID. And then it came here and it says add or update contact, and it based on the email. So it ended up going to the same one because it did an update based on email. But now we should be able to see the note. So if I come here and say view all properties, I'm gonna hide blank. So you can see all the notes in here. And you can see that it added the client ID for Mindbody, which ends with 738, which is this right here, okay? All right, finally, we can actually now demonstrate what we're gonna build next. And that is, we're gonna execute it again, but this time, we don't wanna overwrite Fred with Jane's info. We want it to stop and say, hey, I can't do it because you already have a person with that email. So here, in order to do that, update contact, here we're going to replace this with add contact. So why am I replacing this with add contact as opposed to add or update contact? Well, let's study it first. So I had add or update contact. Now the add or update contact does one of two things at the same time, right? It says, if you read it here, it says adds or updates a contact. If a company name is found, the contact is associated with the company. The ID of the added updated contact is emitted. So basically what this does, it requires the email. So it's just like search by email. And if you find the email, you update it. And if you don't, you create it. So that defeats the purpose of keeping them separate if the email is found without that client ID, okay? So in our case, what we want to do is we want to say, hey, this is a different person with the same email, but this is a different person. So I'm going to add a contact instead of add or update contact. So here I'm going to paste that here. I'm going to remove this. Okay. Now the problem is that there's an email, right? And now we're mapping the same email. So we can't use the same email in this case, okay? So I think I had in a previous, let's see here, in a previous session, I showed how to reconstruct an email with JavaScript. I'm just gonna copy and paste that from a previous one. So all right, and so So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a JavaScript. And I'm going to transform data. So I'm going to evaluate a JavaScript expression. So basically what I'm going to want to do, and I showed this in the previous session, I'm going to take fred@apiant.com or test@test.com, and I'm going to rename this to test plus the client ID at test.com. Just because I need two separate contacts in HubSpot and I cannot use the same email. So I'm going to copy and paste the JavaScript. So we're not going to rehash that, but at least. And if anybody has any questions about it, of course, just reach out to us and we'll share this with you. This is what it looks like. I'm gonna do a quick copy and paste. 1 second. There you go. All right, so this is what it looks like. So you put the email in here. So the email comes from Mindbody, obviously. And you put the client ID in here. I'm remapping it just in case. Client ID here. So basically, real quick, this is what it does. It takes the email and the client ID, and it just puts the client ID in front of the @ symbol for the email. And then we take the output of that and we put that in the email. I promise I will get to human interaction at some point soon. Okay. Reconstruct email. Save. All right, just before I save, just to explain what I'm doing here. So what we're hoping is it's going to come down here. It's going to say, hey, new client. It's Jane this time. It's a different client ID, therefore a different person. When this client comes through, what do you want me to do? Well, first we're going to say, does that client exist in HubSpot with that client ID? It's going to say no, because it's not going to be there. So then it's going to reconstruct the email and then add the contact, a new contact, as opposed to updating it with a new email. All right, so let's do it. Do a quick update note. All right. All right, so came here. So I did exactly that. Updated client, find contact by client ID, could not find it. Therefore, reconstructed the email. And now you can see the email is test plus client ID at test.com and then add contact. Okay, so we made an assumption is because we didn't find it, therefore it was a new person. So here you go to contacts and you can see now we have Jane, right? So I have Fred and Jane. So if I sort by last modified, here's Fred, here's Jane, right? So two separate contacts in HubSpot linked to two separate clients in Mindbody. Let me bring those properties up so we don't have to go to that screen to see them. I'm gonna add this to the view. I'm gonna put the Mindbody client ID up here. good. Okay, good. Okay, so if I compare those two, client ID 1901 is Jane right here, and client ID, refresh, client ID 738 is a separate one, right? It's this one right here, 738. Okay, so you get that. So I paused a little bit because I was realizing that now I want to kind of spin this and think of it slightly differently. So here we're making an assumption that if we can't find the client ID is it's a different person. Fine. What I want to do now is say, what if I update the contact here, okay, but it gives me an error. So back to Penn's point, and it says, hey, I can't update this person to this email because this email is already taken by another HubSpot contact. Okay. What should you do if that happens? Well, this is a great opportunity where we would be able to say, hey, why don't we let the admin or a staff member make a decision as to what to do with this information? Do you want to merge it, or do you want to create a new contact, for instance, right? So how would you do that? Well, first, let me demonstrate the issue. Okay, so here I have a Fred, right, and I have a Fred with let me think of how I do this. So I have Fred, and Fred here is going to come down here and it's going to say, I found someone with the email. Oh, it's not by email, it's by client ID. Found contact by client ID. Perfect. Okay. So the issue is, what if I change someone else with a different client? What if I change this email, Fred, to another email in Mindbody, but it's an email that already exists with another client in another contact in HubSpot? So how would that happen? Well, let's look at our contacts here. I'm going to pick a random contact. I'm going to pick this one. All right, so this contact is testclient83@apiant.com. Okay, what would happen, right? And you can see that the client ID is 569. What would happen if I just put that email in here, right? That could theoretically happen where I need to fix a duplicate email, and they don't realize that person was already mapped with another client, right? Well, when I do save here, what's going to happen is going to come down here, is going to say, do I know this person by Mindbody client ID? Yes. And then it's going to say, let's say you wanted to update the email. Let's say the email changes. So let me update the email. So because people's email can change, and then it would be nice for HubSpot to update the new email based on what you've entered in Mindbody. So here I'm going to map the email. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Mapped email. So what's going to happen here is it's going to come down here. It's going to come down this branch. It's going to say, yes, I do have that client. Let me update the email. Let me change the email. And it's going to change the email to testclient83@apiant.com. And then it's going to give us an error, that famous error that we've been looking for, Penn. It's going to give us an error and say, you can't use that email because it's already being used by another contact. Okay, so that's the error we want to generate here. So let's do it. All right, so I'm going to do save. There you go. Error. The reason I get 2 is depending on the account you have with Mindbody, they have this. Sometimes they'll send you 2 payloads for the same event, but it's okay. It performs the same thing twice, so it's fine. All right, so we got that error that I was expecting. It says updated client. We have a new email. Do I have that client ID in HubSpot? Yes. Let me change the email, and the error is, Mark, you want to read it? You're muted.
It says test client 83 at APIANT.com already exists.
Right. So a contract with email right here. A contact with email test client 83 already exists. You cannot change it to that email. Okay. So now we're going to do what Penn recommended, which is instead of stopping the automation, we're going to say if we get a non-critical error, and this is considered a non-critical error, meaning it's not like the API went down or anything. It's feedback almost, right? It's not even an error. It's just feedback. Well, it's an error. It's basically telling you I could not update that contact. Continue if non-critical error. Okay. So now I'm going to start simple. We're going to start with our human interaction. So we're going to get, now again, I've never built one of those, so I'm kind of excited. I've seen them built by Pascal and others, but I have requested that feature, but I have actually never built one. Or I think I might have built one with Intercom once, but so here I can't find it, so I don't know where it is. I'm going to say find an action, and I know it's called get moderation right here. Get moderation link. You see this little human here? So get moderation link. The title, you can name this whatever you want. So in this case, we're going to call it duplicate HubSpot contact. Okay. In the description, you can write whatever you want, and you can use any information from automations and triggers that are above. Okay. So we could not update HubSpot contact ID, and then I'll take the contact ID here. Apostrophes email or from. So we could not update HubSpot contact ID's email from the current email. So I'm going to take the current email that was in the HubSpot contact to, and then I'm going to take the email that came from Mindbody, because this is what it's trying to override, right? To, and I'm going to grab the email from Mindbody. Because another HubSpot contact already has contact is already using this email. Okay, so basically that's the description of what we call get moderation link. So what do you do with this? You can take that link and do whatever you want with it. You can send it through SMS. You can send an email. You can post it somewhere. You can send it through Slack, through Teamwork Chat. I mean, through whatever you want. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to send. Let's see. I'm going to send an SMS, and I'm going to send it to my phone. Okay, so I'm going to send a text message. Text message, duplicate HubSpot contacts needs your decision. oops, decision. And here I'm going to link the moderation link. Okay. That might be too big, by the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shrink it. So I'm going to look for another action because in SMS, the links you send have to be a certain length. So I think shorten URL, or what was another one I was using? Link, get, monitor, execute, get account info, create, send, get, monitor. Oh, create bit link. I think I do have that connected. Oh, I don't. Hold on. I might here. Okay, I think I'm good. Oh, enter a code. Please enter verification code. Where did you send it? Hold on. That's what happens when you don't plan. Hold on. You know what? I'm going to use, I have a different action where we can shorten URLs. Let me go look for it real quick. We use that with Zoom Connect. Mark, can you find out real quick? And I'm going to search it for it as well. What is the action we use to shorten URLs in Zoom Connect to send SMS? Zoom Connect.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I don't know that by the top of my head.
All right, so what about Zoom? Send SMS, send email, send. Here it is. Tell you what, I'll show you what I found. So at least Zoom Connect 4.0. This thing is so good. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so 14. I was thinking 14 or 15.
Right. So 14. See this send SMS action here? We send SMS and we have to shorten the links to Zoom meetings. So before we send emails, SMS, right here, shorten Zoom start URL. So this URL is called shorten URL, and it's so I can just use that. It's an action we actually have, so we might as well use that instead of connecting a new app. So here I'm going to do find shorten. Oh, I couldn't find it here. So it's URL. So let's see. URL right here. Invoke. Oh, we hide that. Right. This is only for admins that we shorten the URL. That's why I don't have it here. Okay, no problem. 19165. Let me just grab it. So let me save that. Saved. I don't have time to explain what I'm doing because, and I'm going to switch to, what did I say it was? 19165. 19165. Okay. I should be able to copy it and paste it because it's just hidden to that account. That's all. Right here. You can, the cool thing about APIANT 2 is you can copy actions and group of actions between automations on your account. That is really pretty cool. So let me just switch back to demo. this works. If not, we'll just use an email. It didn't because I switched accounts. Okay, whatever. Let's just keep that and see what I get through SMS. I just don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But you can actually shorten an SMS. Okay, so all right, so we get this, we send the text, and then the next thing you do is you await the human moderation. So here we're going to search for that. So find an action, and it's going to be await human moderation. All right, so what does this mean? So the first one, we created the link, right? And then we gave the information. The second one is we sent it through SMS so they could click on it so they could make a decision. And then the third action is kind of like a pause. It's like a snooze almost, where we await their decision. And this is where you can decide, find out what they've done by adding a conditional on the bottom here. And here you can just say, what is the output of their decision? What is the result, right? And the result is either accepted or denied, right? So condition equals or does not equal denied, right? So if it does not equal denied, it's going to go to the right. And here we're going to say accepted. Okay. And so if they said, yep, go ahead and merge it, because that's what we're asking here. Would you, we could not update HubSpot contact IDs, emails from to, because another HubSpot Connect is already using this email here. Would you like to merge these contacts in HubSpot? Right? So here they're going to say, yes, merge it. No, don't merge it. Okay. This is what this does.
Do you have to give them more specifics on the answer? Or is it a yes and no that they're going to respond with, and then no is denied and yes is approved? Or
that's a great question. So I'll enhance that after I do that initial demo, because you can actually reconfigure the UI above here to have multiple choices. It's either merge, don't merge, or, you know, right now I'm doing it kind of the vanilla implementation.
Okay.
But you can actually change those buttons, and I'll show you how you can do that. All right. So added human moderation. Okay. So if we come back to here and we do another update, should give us, should go through the same error, but this time, if we did this right, it should wait for our human to make a decision. Of course, I think Mindbody's going to go down. All right, all right, all right. Come on. All right. Looks like Mindbody is not responding. Bummer. Oh, that's it. It's here. Okay, so you see how it says awaiting moderation now instead of an error, Penelope?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're not just getting an error. It's saying it's awaiting moderation. So what does this mean? Well, you can look at what it did by clicking here. So it did exactly this. It said, hey, there was an error here, right? It said this person already exists. It created a moderation link. We could not update HubSpot contact ID 7701's email from test.com to testclient83apn.com because HubSpot contact is already using this email, another HubSpot contact. Would you like to merge these contacts in HubSpot, right? And the title is called Duplicate HubSpot Contact. And then we sent this through text. So let me see if I got my text. I did. Okay, so you can see it here. Where's my camera? Oh, hold on. Let me move this. So I got my text and it said, I don't know if you see it, duplicate HubSpot contact needs your decision. Tap to load preview. Okay. So I'm going to click tap to load preview. And when I click on it, it says duplicate HubSpot contact. It rehashes basically all the default info that we just wrote. And then here it says approve or deny. Okay. If you don't want to do it through a phone so you can see what it looks like, you can also come back here and say view. This will actually show you what is the screen that they would see. So if I click on view here, you see basically the same version of this. So this is what it looks like here. Let me make my screen a little smaller so you can see it better. All right. Okay. Duplicate HubSpot contact. We could not update HubSpot contact ID email from test.com to test83 because another HubSpot contact is already using this email. Would you like to merge these contacts in HubSpot? Now you can always enhance that with so much more information. Because you have access to the information, you could enhance it and say, here's the first contact, here's the second contact, here's all the information. Do you want to merge or not merge? Right? I made it very simple here, but you can really enhance that quite a bit. Okay. So here as a user, if I say approve, it's going to go, if I say approve, see right now it's kind of waiting here. It's in limbo, or not in limbo, but it's just suspended execution, awaiting moderation. Approve would go to the right and not approve would go to the left. Okay. So before I actually click on approve or don't approve, let me just enhance this a little more. So, and that I've never done before, so I'm actually kind of excited. So we can change this to say merge, don't merge, right? So let's try it. So the way you do this, instead of approve and deny, right, is you configure the UI up here. So here I'm going to say find an action, configure UI. And I'm totally cheating right now. I'm looking at what Pascal built because he sent me a little tutorial on this right before the demo. All right. So I've never done this. So the header is right. The header text at the top of screen next to search field, the default is moderation queue. So here we can call this HubSpot duplicate decision screen or whatever, decision screen dialogue. The dialogue title, so I think the dialogue title is on HubSpot. Excuse me. My wife always tells me, you have the most silent sneeze I've ever seen. One day your eyes are going to pop out of your socket, out of their socket. Approve button is going to be merge. Deny button is don't merge. Okay, so now we're replacing this. Instead of approve and deny, it's going to say merge, don't merge. Okay, so it's specific action that you want to take here. Okay. Scope, I'll talk about scope a little bit. Scope is a way to kind of group these decisions in different scopes. So you may have decisions that are for staff members. You may have decisions that are for sales. You may have decisions that are about contact. You may have decisions that are about invoicing. Do you want to create a chart of account? Do you want to process the invoice? Do you want to charge the customer? There's a lot of things you could build, right? You could build just whatever you want. But when you put it in scopes, the people you send it to, if they have a queue of all these decisions, they will only see the queue for their scope. So it's a way to kind of separate the queue of decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Because it's important that you may build a bunch of these. Some of them are about information that you don't want to show other people. So you want to make sure that when they click on the link, that they can see the queue of all the decisions they need to make that are relevant to their access. So that's what the scope is for. Okay, and that's all you really need to do here. So I think so, pretty sure. Okay, so I'm going to save that. And I'm going to say added configure UI. And we're going to do it again. And this time, we're going to do just another update. All right, so same thing, awaiting moderation, but this time you can see it's called HubSpot duplicate HubSpot contact. We could not, and now it's merge, don't merge. Now it's specific to what you want them to do, right? So now they understand, instead of approve, don't approve, it's much more specific. So it makes a lot more sense. And again, this is a really simple implementation of this, but remember that this is going to be really, really powerful when you start putting this into the context of much bigger automations and process workflow automation. It can be very, very powerful. Okay, so what time is it? 2:13. We have about 20 minutes, Pen, I think.
Yeah, between
Okay,
15
good.
and-
Perfect. Okay, so before I move forward, remember that here I just had the decision tree, but I have no actions here. So why don't we put them in? Let's do a merge action. So here I'm going to add the HubSpot action called merge. Merge. Donde it's right here, merge. And this is very simple. It merges two contacts, okay? So I'm not gonna dive into the merge. You really have to read, because let me just tell you a little bit about it. When you merge two contacts in HubSpot, you merge one into the other, but it keeps, HubSpot has actually a pretty fancy feature where it'll keep the most recent, if there's a conflict, it'll keep the most recently updated value of each field that you're merging. It could be good, it could be bad, because you may not want that, but so be aware of that. Okay, so what are we merging? We're merging, and remember, there's a contact ID we're going to be missing here, right? And you're probably like, what do you mean? But take a look at this. Contact ID that we know we want to merge, that we have, is this one.
Right.
But how about the other one?
I don't know. Is it revealed in the error
No.
or action? Sorry.
No, it's not.
All right.
The error message we got here does not give us one. So no problem. So we're going to want to put one here. I'm going to say save here. So since we know we want to merge, we know how to find that contact again. All we have to do is find the contact by email. Remember, HubSpot can only have one contact with that email, right? So here I'm just going to say HubSpot, find contact by email. And by the way, I just want to make a little note here for those of you who are kind of advanced integration consultants, and citizen integrators. APIANT took a different philosophy than a lot of our competitors when it comes to building these endpoints. A lot of our competitors, what they do is they try to pack a lot of functionality into each action. So for instance, they have an add or update contact in HubSpot. We purposely split that out. Find contact by email, find contact by ID, update contact, create contact, merge contact. And the reason we did that is because it really gives you a lot more flexibility on how you combine them into your logic, as opposed to being forced to use one action that works a certain way, but it doesn't quite meet the logic that you desire. And this is a perfect example right here that you can see that now I'm doing a find contact by email because I'm just looking for a contact that has that email. I don't have the ID. I also have another one that says find contact by ID, right? I also have another one that has add or update contact, but I don't want to use those. There's a very specific, this is as close as you get from coding, which is it does one specific thing. And since you can build as many of those actions into very complex diagrams, we believe, or at least it's not only we believe, we know, it gives you a lot more flexibility to create integrations that are delivering 100% of your need as opposed to approximate your need. I don't know if that made sense, but I do feel strongly about it. And this is something a direction we purposely went years ago, and it's served us very, very well. So find contact by email. So what email is it? So it's still the same email, right? But it's going to give me, here I know it's going to give me a different contact than find contact by client ID. And why is because when I tried to update this one, it said, no, someone else already has it. So now I know I'm getting that email, that contact, right? And now I can actually come here and then merge the second ID or map the second ID of that email that I've just found. So here's the contact ID. Okay, and that's it. So instead of accepted, I'm going to say merge. Save that. Added merge HubSpot contact actions. You guys ready to finally test that little button of ours that we've been toying with? Okay, so before, that's something I do when I build things. Before I click and see, did it do what I thought it would do? I really try to get a very clear idea of what I'm expecting based on what I've built. So when I test it, I can go right to seeing, did it do what I thought it would do? A lot of folks, what they do is, that I've noticed is they build it, they say, oh, this should do it. And then they say, go. And then they get a desired, they don't know if what they got is exactly what they were expecting. And that really slows down your progress. So what I do in this particular case is I kind of draw the scenario of what am I expecting, right? So what I'm expecting here is that test client 83, right, is going to be merged with Fred Lumiere, because Fred Lumiere is test@test.com, but I changed the email in Mindbody to test client 83. Okay. So when I click merge, those two contacts should become one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
However, those two are going to become one, but it's still going to have Fred test.test.com. You're not controlling what the email is going to be, which is not exactly your desired outcome. So what you really want here is you really want not only to merge them, but you want to make sure you're using the latest email that's been updated in Mindbody. Okay. So here, because remember, we weren't able to update it here. So it never got updated.
Right.
it just gives you an error. And then now you merge them, but you still didn't update it. You just merged them. So you're going to want to update it here. So find contact by email, merge contact. So we'll do that next. Okay. So let's do it. Save. Oh, I think I didn't make a change since the last one, so I'll just put another note. All right. So I get my text. Watch this. I'm actually going to do it right here. I'm going to get my text. I don't think it sent me. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay, so I'm getting my text. I'm loading the question. All right, so here you can see it says merge or don't merge. By the way, these new phones are amazing, man. 1 terabyte in an iPhone. Isn't that crazy? A terabyte. It's just, and it shoots ProRes HQ, which is broadcast quality 1 terabyte. You can actually shoot a full documentary for History Channel with these phones. Anyway, getting a little distracted here. All right, so I'm going to click merge, and in theory, we should see it process the merge here. I'm say merge. There you go. You saw that? Boom. Now what happened when I said go? It said, yep, he said merge, 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 merge. And now if I do so I have Fred and Ava. If I do a refresh on Ava, Ava's now Fred. And Fred's Fred. Okay, so I merged it. How about them apples? I feel like sometimes you guys are just indulging me.
How you like them apples?
So what do you think, Pen?
That was great. So easy. I still couldn't do it myself, but I do love watching it, and it's great. I might be able to. After this, I'd be a lot better off than I was before.
Right. So tell us, tell us about our sales team. So we have a few minutes to talk about this.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to folks about, the kinds of application for get moderation link, right? We use that for our sales team, where somebody comes to our website and they fill out a form and say they're interested in a specific solution that we have. We use this and we send SMS and we ask this, just describe to us how the sales team gets those notifications and what kind of decisions they can make based on where they are and all that.
Right. Yeah, we do use it. I absolutely love it. So basically, when we have an inquiry come in, whatever I'm doing as a salesperson, whether I'm sitting in front of the computer or not, I still want to help a potential customer or even a current customer as fast as I possibly can. So what we set up using this type of automation is that I will get a text message asking me if I'm available and showing me a little bit of information about the customer who has submitted an inquiry. And I can either say, yes, I'm available now, which automatically shoots the customer a text message back asking if I can call them. Or I can say, no, I'm not available now, but I do want to set up a call. And they will essentially get a text with a link to my calendar. And it's literally just a push of a button from me. But it helps us get back with that customer and that prospect in a really timely manner. Makes it easy on me. I don't have to be getting in front of a computer. I just, check my phone. And yeah, it's like magic.
And why are we doing this, Pan? I'm just sharing the script. I'm sharing the slide with you.
There it is.
Okay.
Because it's really important. The faster you get back with somebody, that's when they're the most engaged, right? They're sitting there right then waiting for a response. If you wait 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour,
right,
they begin to lose interest really quickly.
Right. So this is a slide I stole from Stephen at Zoom Info. Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Guillaume from Lemlist. I saw one of their webinars, and Zoom Info just kind of shared the slide that said that they respond to inquiries within 90 seconds, if possible. But it's not always possible. You know what? Our salespeople also need a life, and they may be having turkey with their family. They're not going to get on the phone to talk about integrations. But for a big chunk of their day, they would love to be able to speak to someone right away. And so here we give them the option. And so the way we do it, somebody is with this human interaction. And so we send the link to a text, just like I did here. And it says, hey, Mark Floyd is interested in Zoom Connect. Would love to, and he wrote this. And by the way, those pay, and we can cover that at another point, but if you go to Mindbody to Zoom, basically it's if these get filled out. So he was here and he filled that out here, okay? And then he put in his mobile number. And he said, hey, I'm really motivated and I have 50 locations and I really want to get up and running today. So Penelope is looking at this. She gets this text and she's like, forget the turkey. I'm going to speak to them right away. And she says, yes, boom. And now the automation triggers and automatically sends them a text back and saying, hey, this is Penelope. Thank you for your interest. Do you have time to chat right now? I'll call you. They say yes, boom, she gets on the phone. And so that's where this application can really work well for sales, but it can work for anything. It can work for sales. It can work for accounting. If you have a conflict for an invoice in QuickBooks and you say, should we merge it? Should we create a new invoice? I mean, the sky's the limit. And really the cool thing is that you can make your people's lives a lot easier. So you just kind of cue them for them to make a decision. And now they tell the robot what to do. So I love it. We use it for all kinds of stuff. This was my first time building one. So, I'm pretty excited I was able to build it. We even use it when people's account disconnect. Let's say their Zoom got disconnected by mistake. We send them, hey, your Zoom got disconnected. Do you want to reconnect it? Yes, boom, done. Or, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. It can help with support. It can help with sales. It can help with admin, finance, accounting and so forth, or billing and so forth. And that's what I have for today. And the weekend is upon us. And I want everybody to have a great time. I hope you had a great time. This is my absolute favorite time of the week because we just, as a kid, I used to love show and tell. Loved it so much. I was the first one with my hand up in the air when the teacher says, yeah, anybody wants to talk about their vacation. And then she would say, okay, Frederick, that's enough. We're going to give everybody a chance. But that's it. You didn't get any questions, Pen, or anything that you want me to cover?
No, nothing from me. And we didn't get any questions through the chat either this time.
Okay. All right. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you next week.
All right.
Bye.
Ciao.